We're now joined by tonight's winner of the Striping Technology 350, Johnny Sauter, driver the number 21 Allegiant Travel Chevrolet. This is Johnny's third win at Texas Motor Speedway, 13th in NASCAR Camping World Truck Series competition. Back-to-back wins for you, third win of the season. Talk about just that late pass there at the end, and picked a good time to have winning back-to-back races.
Excuse me, I've been kind of sick all week, but yeah, no, it was phenomenal there. The guys in the pits put me in position to win the race ultimately there at the end, and I just couldn't get going on them restarts. I was on the splitter too hard, and we drove down into turn one wide open there on that restart, and the thing took off up the hill, and I'm like, uh-oh, this is bad. So, you know, we ended up losing 2 spots because of that, but you know, Tab Boyd kept saying on the radio, just try to keep up momentum, and spotter, and you know, kept me calm, I guess, really, if you want to know the truth. And I just kept trying to do what I needed to do, and the tires eventually came where they needed to be. And I think that the guys that got in front of me there probably blew their tires up a little more than we did, and they fired off a little better, and then we were able to get them towards the end of that run. So all night long, our Allegiant Travel Chevy was very, very strong on long runs for sure. You know, we started 16th, and I think by the first caution we were up to 5th. So, you know, I think everybody's a little discouraged after qualifying, and I was like, yeah, we'll be all right, because you know, I felt a driver just knows. I've been doing this long enough to know, and I made a couple passes today in practice, and I was like, ooh, this thing feels really, really good. So just proud of everybody at GMS Racing. This is 2 in a row, and we're peaking at the right time. But we need to peak here in a couple weeks when it really, really counts at Homestead.
Also joined by winning crew chief Joe Shear Jr. Joe, talk about the momentum the team has, and also walking away from a win like this, knowing this is the last mile and a half before you guys race for the championship at Homestead Miami Speedway.
Yeah, this was a big race for us. You know, we went into Martinsville with the deal to, you know, to execute and to pounce and try to get our ticket in here, and then we came here to experiment and actually, you know, get ready for Homestead, and we did what we needed to do. We experimented with some stuff. We ran good. We worked just on race trim stuff all day. We were disappointed in our qualifying deal, but we didn't really work on that. But we worked on our race trim stuff really good, and it showed. And I'm excited. We did what we needed to do, and we got momentum going into Homestead, and I can't wait to get there.
Awesome. We'll go ahead and open up for questions. You could raise your hand. We'll start over here with Jerry.
Yeah, Jerry Fraley of the Dallas Morning News for Johnny. Johnny, as you said, you're peaking at the right time. But after you win last week to get a spot in the chase, is there any intent in this race to sort of send a message to the field that, you know, they're going to have to beat you if anybody's going to win a title?
Yeah, I think so. I think, you know, we've been very consistent all year, and I think a lot of people have overlooked our consistency just because we hadn't really, you know, set a blazing trail, so to speak. So, and all this is really a combination of just trying stuff and trying to get better and working on stuff because, you know, Daytona enabled us one thing to kind of be able to focus a little bit on trying to make our stuff better. So, you know, I always feel really good going into Martinsville. I always feel really good coming into Texas. And, you know, all these chase races, I feel really good about the racetracks that are in the chase. But, yeah, you know, tonight I was able to throw caution to the wind. I didn't care. You know, I told myself when we were on the parade laps, I said, you know, you drive this thing as hard as you need to, and if you wreck it, you wreck it. But, you know, just it's kind of cool to be able to have that confidence, and I think that's kind of the mentality you're going to have going into Homestead. You're going to, you know, you're going to have to be smart, but you're going to have to race your tail off, as far as I'm concerned, because you know everybody else that you're racing against is going to be going for it. So, I don't know. You know, we'll clean this thing up and take this truck down there and tweak on it a little bit more and see what we got.
Let's go Reed, Chris, and then Wolfgang.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service. Johnny, when you're chasing down the 88 there in the closing laps, does it enter your mind that, you know, I can beat him and keep the pressure on him going into Phoenix? Does that even cross your mind at the time?
Yeah, absolutely. When I fell back to third there, you know, those guys were content to keep riding the bottom. I'm like, well, you're leaving me all the room I needed. And I was so good all night long through the middle towards the top in 3 and 4 tonight. So you just carry so much momentum down the front straightaway, and you get a big run on those guys. But, yeah, I mean, that's what my thought process was there when we were coming to 2 to go. And And I thought, Matt was really content to stay on the bottom. I was surprised by that, and gave me the whole top, and I was able to run wide open like I needed to. So, just it's cool to be able to keep him from winning a race. There's no doubt about it. Because if he has any trouble in Phoenix, then hopefully we won't have to race him for the championship coming to home Miami.
Chris?
Chris Knight, catchfence.com. Johnny, you set a new career record tonight with the most top 10 finishes in a season with 17 top 10 finishes. That's pretty good considering everything that you've had to go through this season.
Yeah, no, early part of the year, we were really running well, too. Like at Martinsville in the spring, we were running second when we blew that right front. We finished dead last. Had an ignition box problem in Atlanta. We started last and drove to 8th by the first 20-minute caution, and had to go behind the wall to ultimately fix the ignition box. And then Kansas, we were leading, coming to the white flag, or checkered flag, actually, and I swerved on the backstretch and just kind of starved the motor for fuel, and we got wrecked. So all in all, we've been very successful all year, or consistent, I guess. I wouldn't say that's successful, but, it's really not a lot about me. It's a lot about these guys. I mean, GMS and everything they're doing, and I say it all the time, but for a Truck Series team, the way that GMS has gone about it, and the Gallagher family, the way they're approaching it, and the way that they're building this program is second to none. I mean, it's pretty awesome when you consider we're building our own chassis in-house with GMS fabrication and doing our own bodies in-house, and obviously ECR horsepower. So, it's something, it's not just me, it's everybody. It's a huge organization, and, it's what Kyle Larson won Eldora, Grant Enfinger won Talladega, Ben Kennedy won Bristol, so, and you add our wins on top of that, so the stuff's really, really working well. Yeah, that's even better. 3 in a row for GMS, so that's cool. They deserve it. I mean, they're going about it the right way, and, just it's nice to see somebody come into the sport and really be all in, and the heart is in the right place, and doing what it takes to want to be successful.
Let's go Wolfgang, then we'll come to Lee, and then Dustin.
Yeah, Wolfgang Monzer from Germany, Ranchport Press Agency. A question to the crew chief, Mr. Joe Chira Jr.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry for the wrong pronunciation. You said earlier you were concentrating in qualifying more on practice, more on race trims than on qualifying trim. Does it mean in qualifying you use already the race trim and not so much qualifying trim?
Well, we're on in-pound deals, so we don't get to do much. So we worked really just all day on race trim stuff. We didn't worry about qualifying at all. And it kind of showed a little bit. But we felt so good about our race trim stuff that we figured we could do this what we did out there. So we just worked on that, and we were here earlier in the spring, and we knew what we needed to work on, and we were on the same tire. So we just worked on that, and worked on that, and worked on that, and it paid off.
And the second question is, immediately when the race started, Johnny was in the leading bunch, 4, 5, 6, back to 4th. But I have the impression, maybe it's wrong, but I have the impression the car came really at life the second part of the race. Did you make any significant changes for the second part of the race?
Well, like the spring race here, we were tight. So then when we came here, we worked on that, worked on our freeness off the corner and everything. And then we got it actually a little bit too free. So we just spent most of the time just fine tuning it, just tightening it up a little bit, fine tuning it. And our truck was really good on a long run. Basically about halfway through a run, our truck would come on both times. So we just kept working up to the top. And then we had great pit stops today, and we just kept working. And then pretty soon we were in a top 3 and going for the win.
Lee?
Lee Spencer, Motorsport.com. Johnny, can you tell me what happened on that last restart between you and Crafton, though, how he was able to get around you? Because I think you really wanted the top. You guys discussed that during the pit stop, but it just, at that particular time, it didn't seem to work out.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, a lot of times in the trucks, when you're at a 1.5 mile racetrack, the top is the preferred groove just because you keep momentum. We obviously can run through turn 1 wide open after we take the green flag. And the key to this place is it's getting pretty rough, the racetrack itself. And if you don't have the splitter gap just right, or, you're trying to run lower air pressure, you're on the splitter. And that's the compromise you make to keep that, to keep your truck good on a long run. So to optimize downforce and all that. So, those right away, we drove off into turn 1, and the thing kind of bounced and took up off the racetrack. And I said,
You can blame me.
Yeah. No, but, yeah. But we just, and we talked about this even today. We were like, we got to keep the splitter on the ground so that at the end of a long run, we're still good. So I didn't think it was going to be that big of a problem because he did blow the front tires up a little bit, but, just really rough. And if you start skipping the splitter across the racetrack, you lose front grip, and your only option is to lift off the throttle. And so we lifted off the throttle and lost momentum. So I just had to go back, and a couple laps later, I was able to run wide open like I needed to and run the top, and Matt just kept running the bottom. I was like, well, this is perfect. So, like I said before, our strong suit all day long was the top and 3 and 4, and big momentum.
As strong as you were here, how do you feel as far as, what kind of momentum does that give you, or what kind of confidence does that give you going to Miami Homestead, another intermediate track? I mean, when you get it dialed in the way you were in those closing laps, I mean, Gallagher had the best truck pretty much all night long. That pit stop really killed them. But, knowing how strong you were amongst your chase, colleagues, how do you, what kind of confidence does that give you?
Well, I'll be honest with you. Martinsville last week was a big shot in the arm. Just feeling like you can win again. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, we've been consistent all year, but we hadn't been winning. So Martinsville made me feel really good, obviously, and I'm sure it's the same for everybody across the board on our team. So coming to another place like Texas where we've had success in the past, I feel good about it. Homestead is obviously going to require a little bit different setup, I would think, suspension-wise. I think there's some things that we can work on to make it better because the racetrack's, not a D-shaped oval, kind of like Texas here. It's a little bit different and requires a little bit different package. But I feel like what we learned on today, or what we ran today, is going to really work. Maybe I'm wrong. You might want to ask him. But I think what we did in the front today is really going to work well down there. There's probably some stuff that we're going to have to do in the back that's a little bit different. But I like racing at Homestead. We won there in 2011, and we lost that championship by 6 points. So hopefully this time it's the shoes on the other foot, and we win the championship. But that's a great racetrack, and I think we'll be well.
And for Joe, how does this reunion feel with Johnny? I mean, you guys had a lot of success earlier when you were together, and you went a different path for a while. But for people who have been around you guys and seen you guys together and now see you guys back again, how does it feel this time around?
Oh, it feels great. He thought he could live without me, but he decided he couldn't.
Yeah, right. I think the shoe's on the other foot, other way around.
That's why he begged me to come over.
No, it's good. I mean,
It's really good.
you answer it, not me.
Yeah, I'm happy as can be. And we're like brothers, so we've done this stuff for years and years together and grew up together, and we just kind of know what we're talking about without even talking. So it's good. It feels good. I feel at home. I don't know what to say. We're just good together.
Dustin?
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Johnny, one of the things you have over a younger driver is you have a sense of perspective. If a younger driver was having the success that you would, they maybe wouldn't be able to maybe comprehend it with having gone through the highs and lows. For somebody who's gone through that in your career, to have this type of run and now to be potentially 2 weeks away from being a champion in this series, what does that mean, or how hard is it to keep that thought out of your mind over these next 2 weeks?
Well, I've been racing a long time. I've had the thoughts of being a champion for a long time. So, and it's hard. I mean, not to get off the subject, but when I look at things like Jimmy Johnson winning 5 in a row, I mean, that's just out of this world, I mean, that's puts things into perspective. And I always try to look at things objectively, like somebody throwing a baseball, you think, oh yeah, you can hit 100-mile-an-hour baseball, and it's just not that easy. So, to be able to win a championship it would mean a lot to me, obviously, but I think, and I said this earlier this week, I feel like a championship would mean a lot to my family. Everybody racing through the years, and me going to all the short tracks and all the stuff that we've done, and my dad running, limited time basis sprint cup schedules, and it'd be really, really cool to bring a championship home just to the family, really, so to speak. But I have been around a long time. I've seen things go good and I've seen things go bad, but you just take what you can get and do the best job you can. And if it's meant to be, it'll work out. And if it's not, try again later.
So are you excited with this type of run, or are you temperate because of that experience? You know things can change, or that there's still another, potentially a greater thing ahead of you?
Well, I'm pretty fired up. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I feel really, really good. I'd rather have these 2 wins right now going into Homestead, obviously. So, I have a lot of confidence in what we're doing right now. I feel like we're clicking, and I feel like what we're working on is making our stuff better. Obviously, you saw Spencer tonight had a phenomenal truck, so a better truck than we did, actually. So, a championship is something I want. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I think everybody that races wants a championship, but you have to execute. You can't make any mistakes, and you've seen it 100 times where a $2 part can knock you out of a championship. But those are things that you try to control as best you can, and we're going to do everything we need to do. I feel like, and I'm going to drive it as hard as I absolutely positively can at Homestead, and hopefully it comes out the other end.
Chris?
Johnny, before you get to Homestead, though, you got to go to Phoenix next week. How do you feel about going to Phoenix and having the opportunity to sweep the round? And then also, are you taking the same truck you ran at Martinsville last week?
We are not taking the same truck we ran at Martinsville, but we are taking a truck that's kind of a sister to that truck. So, and probably going to run a very similar setup package. So, I love Phoenix. We've always ran well there. I don't know how many top 5 finishes I have there, but it's been a really good racetrack. Obviously, last year was a bummer, getting wrecked on running third there with my teammate or whatever at the time. But, to be able to sweep the round, that would be pretty cool. I'm not going to lie. I would love to win at Phoenix. But keep things in perspective. I know we'll go there and run well. I have no doubt about it. I feel that confident. But, I'm really honed in on Homestead mentally, I guess. And I don't know. That would be pretty unbelievable to sweep the round, though. But if anybody can do it, it's us, because we already did the first 2, right?
Wolfgang?
Johnny, in case you will win the championship in Miami, is there anything special in plan already for 2017? Can you talk about that?
As far as I know, we're doing the same thing. So I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about that or not, but that's the plan right now. And got a lot of cool things working at GMS right now, and I think they're getting ready to announce some stuff here in the next week or 2. So, I can't control what happens in the future, so I just take it day by day and drive as hard as I can. And I'm just fired up right now. I'm pretty pumped.
Any other questions? Down here at the front, Pete.
Pete Horonis, Race Talk Radio here in Dallas. I just got a question for both of y'all, or either one of y'all. The caution light came on 3 times tonight. I think that's the first time it's done it all year. I think it's only been once that it's come on in the races before. Did that change y'all's strategy during the race? And do y'all like the caution light coming on after 20 minutes of racing?
Go ahead, Joe.
Today, yes. Yeah, it worked out pretty fine. The tire selection we had and the cautions coming out, what they did was perfect timing. In real life, I kind of like that not to happen and the strategies that come involved, but I thought it was perfect tonight. I couldn't ask for anything better.
Yeah, and I think if you surveyed every driver or crew chief on pit road, you'd probably get a different answer from everybody on the caution clock, because it depends if that night it fell in your favor or didn't fall in your favor. So I kind of like it. I mean, there's been, there's times when you just, you can be better and you want to get in the pits and make an adjustment. So, I mean, I kind of like it personally, but it's, different perspectives from different people.
Well, over in the Cup Garage, we've been hearing about how the drivers like putting it back in their hands, the tires fall off, and it gets back in the driver's hands. It seems like with that caution light coming on, it kind of takes it out of the driver's hands. Do y'all feel that way about it?
I mean, tonight, I definitely think that could be a justifiable case for sure. because the handling was definitely going away at the end of them 20 laps. I mean, we were all kind of hanging on, but I feel like the field is so spread out at that point that, everybody's just going to hang on until they make a green flag pit stop. And I think the caution clock's really close to a green flag pit stop, if I'm not mistaken, is it not? I mean, it's within how many laps of a fuel run?
10 laps.
So, you're going to make a green flag pit stop. So those 10 laps, I think the field's so spread out at that point anyway, I don't know that the racing is any different.
Any other questions? Gentlemen, congratulations. Thank you very much for stopping by.
Thank you.